In this short episode, we're going to discuss the difference between Oracle and Planet Fitness. They're both 30% operating margin businesses, but one of them didn't fare so well in the current pandemic. Why is that important, and why will that support you as an investor knowing what actually happened? If you're interested in learning more, continue listening. Welcome to the Red to Black podcast. We're the hosts Warner and Mario, and today we're discussing two businesses, Planet Fitness and Oracle. Both phenomenal businesses, but one didn't do so well in the pandemic. What are your thoughts on that, Mario?
Well, if Oracle gets shut down, the entire global economy gets shut down. Logistics don't move around the economy. You can't shut Oracle down and not have unbelievable consequences. Planet Fitness, not a big fan. I'll just be blunt. I'm not a big fan of that business model. But you can shut it down, and people aren't going to lose as much weight or be as fit. You're going to have to transition to outside exercise. And in some northern climates, that's difficult. Push-ups, pull-ups, running, cycling. It's hard to do in Manitoba. But it can be shut down. The consequences are a lot less for shutting down gyms than it is shutting down servers that literally run most of the banks, the airlines, the logistics companies. Virtually everything that's being transferred around the world is run off Oracle servers. So much more grave consequences if you try to shut that business down.
Let's look at those businesses a little bit more in depth. Every time I look at a business, I like to look at the form, the function, and the durability. This is something that you taught me, Mario. And I actually have an article, or we have an article on this on the redtoblackpodcast.com. So check it out if you get a chance. And what I talk about in the article is form. When you're looking at any business, look at the form of the business, like the physical form. If you take a look at Oracle, it's got servers sitting in warehouses in a temperature-controlled environment on a flat concrete pad. Real simple. They got power coming in, they got data lines going in and out, and then they have individuals in offices doing admin work and making sure that the whole thing stays running. It doesn't require a lot to keep servers running. Now, they have a huge staff that creates software, but that software just sits there and does its job, and they just update it. And they create new software, or they buy new businesses like Sun Microsystems. Now, take a look at Planet Fitness. You have multiple different gyms all over the country in different jurisdictions that have different liability issues, different types of individuals, all different types of cultures. Nothing wrong with different cultures. It's just multiple different things to manage. You have all this equipment that's constantly breaking, not breaking. Did someone drop a weight on his foot? The logistic of that business just keep going on and on and on. All the stuff you're required to manage. They still produce a phenomenal margin, 30% margin when we looked at their business. But in the pandemic, they got smoked. And this is something on the Red to Black podcast we're going to talk about. What is applying the pandemic factor to your businesses? Can your business survive a pandemic? We talk about mobility. We talk about resilience in the brand. We talk about the operating margin. We talk about all those things. But none of those things matter if you can't make revenue. That's what we learned this pandemic. If they can take your revenue, you no longer have a business, right, Mario?
That's right. No, it's correct, Warner. Yeah. So, if you look at the liquor stores, they never closed down. They didn't want it. People were allowed to consume alcohol, but the gyms, and I'm not going to pass judgment. They shut the gyms down because of the risk. That is a horrible business to go back into. The hotel business, they shut the hotels down. The travel industry, airlines. There's some horrible businesses that are still attracting investors post pandemic, and to me it's crazy. Well, take a lesson from the pandemic. Take a lesson that these businesses are not storm ready. They're not going to ride out storms. There's far better businesses to invest in than something that could be shut down due to a pandemic. So avoid these businesses, gentlemen.
Yeah, and what that points to is what Mario and I always look at, which is foregoing emotion and being rational. And how do you be rational? Accounting and finance, because that's the core of any business. And then you branch out from there and you look at branding, you look at the mobility of the business, you look at how big is the market for the business. But if you don't have, like I was talking about before, the form, the function, and the durability, correct? And that really points to the form. If the form is not there, like Oracle is not going to outcompete, or excuse me, other way around. An oil business is not going to outcompete Oracle because you have pipelines strewn across the country going through multiple different environments, multiple different climates, grade changes, elevation changes. And now you have Oracle with servers just sitting flat in a temperature controlled environment. You can see, like visually imagine that. Insane weather fluctuations, one environment. Insane grades going up and down, flat. It's simple. The underlying form of that business is going to function a lot better in Oracle. It's going to be more efficient, not be as cash intensive as, say, an oil company. That even though Planet Fitness was able to create 30% margins, they're still a really logistic intensive business. And when that points to mobility in this type of environment, they weren't able to move. They just got shut down. So that's what you want to think about as an investor. We want to start adding different compartments to your brain on how to evaluate a business. And one of them is the pandemic factor, which points to mobility.
Yeah. So you're comparing like rusty pipes that are sitting out and just getting destroyed. I'll throw in the cruise ship industry. Warner and I will never start a cruise ship business. It's sitting in salt water, deteriorating. And oh, by the way, the government can shut your business down at any time. Oracle cannot be shut down. You literally destroy the economy shutting Oracle down. And oh, by the way, they can just flip on a switch and move everything. All their data can be shifted to another jurisdiction. They're almost sovereign. That company has grown itself to a position where it's basically outside the jurisdiction of any single government in the world. It's too big. It's too diverse, and it has the ability to pivot. Your local gym you can't pick up and say, you know what, Denver, Colorado is just not working out for us. We're going to pivot to Austin, Texas. Sorry, you're not. All your equipment and your leases and your buildings are in Denver. You can't pick that up and move it. Oracle pivots way better than a gym business.
So let's look at this because this podcast is devoted to investing in, buying, or building any stage of the business, buying a high operating margin business. So what if you don't want to be at the level of Oracle? What if you just want a small little business and you want to go into, say, the restaurant business or the fitness business? Well, here's some things you can think about. Set up a business where the margins and the mobility work in your favor. So if you're going to do the food business, which I wouldn't go into, but you could do pretty well, do a food truck, or even go simpler. Pull a food cart. I've seen in LA, pull a food cart behind your truck, right? And then you could set up a shop wherever you want. Wherever demand is good, you go. Just produce the highest quality food, find the local farmers, find the best quality stuff you can find. And then if you're a fitness guy or gal, get a truck, get a trailer, and do outdoor fitness equipment. We want you to start thinking like, human behavior is the one thing that's going to block you. And if you have governments and individuals or jurisdictions that are blocking you, don't play their game. Don't play their hand. Always focus on how can I create like a great business with great margins that's mobile, that you can't grab me.